What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone, where we are going to talk about Danilo could be on the move in the summer. And I know what people will say, you have an agenda, you're making it up. But no, it's actually a story, and it could be a possibility for some reasons, and it could be absolutely not even a consideration for other reasons. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Before we get into it, hit the like button. Let's push the like button now. It's easy, so hit that like button now and subscribe because we are extremely close to 5K now, and I want to reach that before the end of the season. But yeah, let's talk about Danilo. Okay, so it's definitely not made up unless you say the story is crap. It's Repubblica. They're basically saying that he could be on the move. He could be on the move because of his contract situation. It's 25 and the club is going through a change, and maybe he could be one of those changes, or it's potentially on the board. Now, I will start by saying why I will start first off talking about why I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen because of the simple reason: one, we have so many things to fix at the back line. It feels like Bremer is gonna leave. De Chilio is done. Alexandro is gone. We don't know what Diallo is. Gatti is actually not good enough at this moment in time. You might have Huijsen coming back, and that's it. There are so many question marks. It wouldn't make sense for the club to say, okay, Danilo, you leave as well this season. From that regard, so that's why I don't think it's gonna happen this season, because it's too much this summer. It's too much that we need to do, and I don't think we have the time for that. I don't think we have the capability of doing all these things. Now, when people say he's not the main problem, I agree. I agree in terms of on the pitch and all those things. Why I think it potentially could happen is contract as well. It's 25. If an offer comes in, and people know what I think about Danilo. Oh, you have an agenda. I don't rate him. I don't rate him as a player. I don't think he's good enough. I think it's overhyped for doing very basic stuff. The Capitano stuff makes me sick because it's being pushed. It's not natural. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't come across as natural. And I get sick and tired of it. Also because we are going through a bad patch. And when the clubs keep pushing that, I'm like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I don't want to hear that. A captain, you become a captain, a natural. The moment you need to push that on a daily basis, it's not natural, and I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. On top of that, my captain of the club needs to be the best player on the pitch. And he's not. He's not the best player in the team. He's not. And people say, oh, he's good. I think he's an average player. And the age he's turning again. Like, if an offer comes in, you take it. I'm sorry. And I know he's not the first thing to fix. I get that, but that's what I've always said. We are in a rebuild. If you want to rebuild, do it properly. And in a rebuild, the first team needs to improve. If you get money for players you're getting no money at any time past this season, same goes for McKennie, you need to take that into consideration. Even though, and I agree, you say, but McKennie's not the main problem right now. No, like, he can be a very good squad player in a very good team, Now he's a starter, and he deserves to start right now. But if an offer comes in, are you going to get that money at any point past this season? That's the thing the club is going to take into consideration this summer, because they have no choice. They have no choice to take other. Excuse me. They have no choice than not to take these things into consideration, because we're short on money and we're not even sure about Champions League still. It's still hanging in the balance. I still think we're not going to get Champions League football. I'll be absolutely stunned at this point if we somehow find a way to get in there. However, 25, if an offer comes in, you're like, let's say somebody offers 25 million euros for Danilo. You're not going to get 25 million euros next season, the season after. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So at that point, the club needs to make a decision. They need to make a decision. I know which decision I will make. I don't know, people say he's experienced and you need that in the team. I agree, but you can get experience in still. He knows the club. That's BS. Like, the DNA of the club is done. Like, you need to rebuild that DNA. You need to rebuild that spine. There's nothing at this club right now that resembles anything we had in the past years leading up to these last 3, 4, 5 years, whatever you want to call it. So that being said, Is it a possibility? Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen because of the simple reason that it's so much work, and the club likes the idea of having Danilo. You know, he talks the way the club wants him to talk and all that thing, and a lot of people are happy with that. So I don't think they're gonna change that. On top of that, as well, what my issue is, he's on more money than Chiellini was when he was on quote unquote retirement route. You know, and I thought Chiellini was better, obviously was much better, but even at the latter stage of his time at Juve, he was much better, and he was on a cheaper wage. You know, he's on 4.5. Danilo, that's a lot of money for, in my opinion, what he offers age wise and the length of his contract. So, and yes, Chesney is on too much money, and yes, Vlahovic is on too much money, and Rabiot, and the list goes on and on and on. But when you're younger, you have that option to ask for more money because there's potential in you, there's growth in you, and you have longevity. Danilo has none of that. If you want to balance, like if you want to clean up the club a little bit financially, and that's the idea, because Romeo Gresi, the club wants to be balance-wise okay, I think in 26, 27 that season, so that's 3 seasons, I guess, or 2, and then the third. You need to take, like, you also need to take a Danilo. If he's the leader of the team, you will go to Danilo, and you're like, if you want, you can get potentially a year extension. However, you're gonna need to go to 3.5 or something, or 3.2. I don't know. And maybe Danilo's like, I'll do that, no problem, and I will accept that. Maybe in the following season, I will not be the main guy starting. Who knows? That could be the case, and I think that's more likely than actually the club selling him. Also because I don't think anyone is gonna offer the money that will make the club go, yeah, it's worth selling Danilo. It's worth to go all through all the quote unquote trouble to replace him as well into the team, basically. So that's why I'm like, no, I see the story, I see the points, I see the idea behind, okay, the club will cash in, but I don't see the offer. I don't see the club going through all that trouble to actually say, okay, we need to fix the midfield, we need to make big decisions at right back and up top, you know, with the loanies and extensions. Let's add Danilo to the mix as well. I don't think that's going to happen in that scenario, but I can fully understand the story. I can see where it's coming from. If an offer comes in, obviously you don't need to give away Danilo. I'm not saying that, but if an offer comes in, I think the club needs to like, if an offer comes in for any player, you take that into consideration. That's what the club has always said. They always said, if an offer comes in, any offer, we will take everything into consideration. If you take it into consideration with much better players, and we've done it in the past, I'm not even talking about now, but in the past, then surely you do that for a player like Danilo, for a player like McKennie, for a player like Locatelli, Vlahovic. Any offer, the club will take into consideration. They took into considerations offers for much, much better players in the past. Why wouldn't they do that for Danilo and co? That part, I agree. I just don't see an offer coming in. I know, was it Bayern last summer or the summer before were interested? They might be interested again, but they're not going to offer you the money they were potentially trying to offer you in the past. So that's why I don't think it's going to happen. I think he will sign a new deal with a reduced wage. I think that's more likely than not. Now, I can be completely wrong, and Juntili can be like, nope, you know, and he will tell Mota, that's it, you know, we're going to go a completely different route. You're going to need to build the squad up again. You will need to find new leaders, and you will need to find, quote unquote, a new captain. It's up to you to restore the DNA. And Danilo, 25, I don't know how old he is. We're trying to move on. Could be, but I don't see that happening for Juntili right now. I don't see him doing that as well. But let me know in the comments, because I know a lot of people like Danilo, and I'm not saying you shouldn't like Danilo. I'm just not a big fan of him as a player, and also not the forced Capitano thing. I think it's too much. Like, it comes across so fake that I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying it, and it makes it much, much worse. And maybe it kind of influenced my idea on the player, but I never liked him. Not at Real Madrid, not at Man City, not with us. Like, I was never sold. So that's it. But let me know in the comments what you think. Like the video, subscribe. I will be live later today. And yeah, have a good one. Ciao.